The Duke's fist slammed against his wife's bedroom door at midnight. "Vivian!" Sebastian Thornfield's voice cracked, 8 years of silence shattering in a single word. "Open this door, now!" Inside, the sobbing stopped. Footsteps. Then her voice broken and raw. "Go away, Sebastian. You've ignored me for 8 years. You can ignore me one more night." "I heard you," he said, his forehead pressed against the wood between them. "Through the wall. I heard every word you said, every goddamn word." A pause. Then the lock clicked. "Well," Vivian whispered as the door opened, tears streaming down her face. "It's about bloody time." Before we continue, if you believe in second chances and marriages rising from ashes, subscribe now. Stay until the end to see if love can survive 8 years of cruelty disguised as duty. Comment your city below. Let's see how far this story reaches across the world. Vivian stood in the doorway, candle trembling in her hand. "How much did you hear?" Sebastian couldn't look away from her face, blotchy from crying, younger than her 27 years, terrified and furious all at once. "All of it. All of it," she repeated flatly. "So you heard me call myself pathetic? You heard me beg God to help me stop loving you? You heard me wish I'd never married you at all?" "Yes," she laughed, bitter sharp. "And that's what brings you to my door, guilt, pity, a sudden attack of conscience after 8 years of treating me like furniture? Vivian, don't." She stepped back, and the candlelight caught the anger in her eyes. "Don't you dare speak my name now. You haven't said it in 3 years, not once. It's always Duchess or my lady, or nothing at all when you bother to acknowledge my existence." Sebastian's hands clenched at his sides. "I know." "You know?" Her voice rose. "You know? Then what the hell are you doing here, Sebastian? What do you want from me that you haven't already taken?" "I don't know," he said, and the honesty of it nearly broke him. "I heard you crying and I couldn't walk away, not tonight." "Why? What's different about tonight?" Vivian demanded. "I've cried myself to sleep for 8 years. Where were you then?" "I wasn't listening." "No, you were very carefully not listening." She set the candle down with a sharp click. "You were perfecting the art of pretending I don't exist. Tell me, Sebastian, have you ever even wondered what I do all day, what I think about? Whether I'm happy or miserable or slowly dying of loneliness in this God-forsaken mausoleum you call home?" Each question landed like a blow. "Vivienne, answer me!" She was shouting now, and Sebastian had never heard her raise her voice. Not once in 8 years. "Did you ever for one single moment think about me as a person, or am I just another piece of property you inherited along with the title and the estate? Of course I've thought about you. Liar." The word cut through the air. "You want to know what I think. I think you're here because Julian's coming home tomorrow and suddenly you're terrified that your perfect little arrangement is going to be exposed for what it really is." Sebastian went still. "What are you talking about?" "Oh, please." Vivian's laugh was acid. "You think I don't know Julian loved me first. Julian wanted to marry me. But your father died, and duty called, and Julian got shipped off to the continent, and I became the consolation prize for the new Duke of Thornfield. That's not... It's exactly what happened, and we both know it." She crossed her arms. "So now Julian's coming back, and he's going to see what you've done to me. He's going to see the ghost you've turned me into, and you can't stand the thought of your golden brother knowing what a monster you really are." "Is that what you think I am?" Sebastian's voice dropped to something dangerous. "A monster? What else would you call a man who marries a 19-year-old girl and then systematically erases her from his life? Vivian shot back. You gave me a title, a household to run, and a bedroom as far from yours as architecture would allow. Then you spent 8 years making sure I understood exactly how little any of it meant to you. I gave you everything. Everything except yourself. She was shaking now. I don't care about the title, Sebastian. I don't care about the jewels or the gowns or the servants who curtsy when I walk by. I wanted a husband. I wanted a partner. I wanted someone who would look at me and see me, not look through me like I'm made of glass. Sebastian took a step toward her. I see you. You see a duchess, a manager of your household, a hostess for your dinner parties. Vivian's voice broke. You have never once seen me, Vivian. The woman who used to love poetry and riding and laughing. The woman who existed before you turned her into a ghost. I didn't mean... What did you mean, Sebastian? She cut him off again. When you installed me 3 doors down from your own bedroom, what were you trying to accomplish? When you stopped speaking my name, what message were you sending? When you perfected the art of leaving a room the moment I entered it, what exactly was your intention? He had no answer, or rather, he had too many answers, all of them damning. That's what I thought. Vivian moved to close the door. Go back to your study. Pour your whiskey. Write in that journal you think no one knows about. Do whatever it is you do to avoid feeling anything real. But don't come to my door at midnight and pretend you suddenly care. Wait. Sebastian's hand shot out, held the door. You know about the journal. Your secretary isn't as discreet as you think. Vivian's smile was cold. Yes, Sebastian. I know you've been documenting your observations about me for 3 years. I know you've been watching and noticing and writing it all down like some scientist studying a specimen. And you know what makes it worse? You couldn't even be bothered to share those observations with me directly. You had to hide them in a locked drawer like they were something shameful. They weren't. I was trying to understand. Understand what? How to be a human being. She was crying again, but her voice stayed steady. Here's a radical thought. You could have just talked to me, asked me questions, shown even the smallest interest in having an actual conversation. But no, that would require vulnerability, wouldn't it? That would require you to admit I'm real. Sebastian felt something crack open in his chest. You are real. God, Vivian, you're the most real thing in my life. Then why have you spent 8 years acting like I'm invisible? The question hung between them, simple, devastating, unanswerable. My father. Sebastian started, then stopped. Started again. My father was brutal to my mother. Cruel. I watched him destroy her piece by piece for 20 years. I swore I would never... So you chose absence instead of cruelty, Vivian finished quietly. You decided that ignoring me completely was somehow better than risking connection. That's your defense. That's your justification for 8 years of emotional abandonment. I thought I was protecting you. From what? From having a husband who actually gave a damn whether you lived or died? She shook her head. Sebastian, I would have taken your father's cruelty over your indifference. At least cruelty acknowledges that the other person exists. You've been treating me like I'm already a ghost. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate, pathetic. Sorry. Vivian tested the word like it was in a foreign language. You're sorry. 8 years, and you're sorry. What do you want me to say? Sebastian's composure was crumbling. Tell me what you want to hear, and I'll say it. I don't want you to say anything. Her voice cracked. I want you to feel something, anything. I want you to be angry or sad or scared or something other than this cold, distant stranger who happens to share my last name. I feel everything. The words burst out of him. Every day I feel it. Every time I pass your door and hear you laughing with Margaret, every time I see you in the library, every time you stand at the goddamn window and look so lonely it makes my chest hurt, I feel all of it. Vivian stared at him. Then why? Because I don't know how to bridge it. Sebastian's voice broke. The distance between us. I built it so carefully, so methodically, and now it's so wide, I don't know how to cross it. I don't know how to be what you need. I needed you to try. Vivian's tears were falling freely now. That's all I ever needed. Just effort, just acknowledgement, just some sign that you knew I was here and that it mattered to you. Sebastian reached for her, then stopped, his hand suspended between them. It matters. You matter. More than I've let myself admit. Don't. She stepped back. Don't say things like that to me. Not now. Not tonight when I'm raw and you're whatever this is. Guilt-stricken, temporarily emotional. I can't. I won't build hope on something that will disappear by morning. It won't disappear. How do I know that? Vivian demanded. How do I trust anything you say when you've spent 8 years proving that I'm not worth your time or attention or basic human decency? You can't, Sebastian said quietly. I've given you no reason to trust me, no reason to believe me, no reason to hope. All I can tell you is that something changed tonight. When I heard you crying, when I heard you say my name. Stop. Vivian held up her hand. I can't do this. I can't stand here and listen to you tell me that one night of guilty conscience has transformed 8 years of neglect. I'm too tired. I'm too hurt. And frankly, Sebastian, I'm too smart to believe it. She moved to close the door again, and this time Sebastian didn't stop her. But just before it clicked shut, he spoke. I forgot. The door paused. What? Our anniversary. Today, 8 years ago today, I married you and I forgot. His voice was raw. You remembered. You've probably remembered every year. And I forgot because I've spent 8 years trying to forget everything about that day, trying to forget the look on your face when you realized you were marrying the wrong brother, trying to forget how young you were, how terrified. Trying to forget that I was taking someone that should never have been mine to take. Silence. Then Vivian's voice, barely audible. It wasn't your fault. Julian left. Your father died. Duty demanded I marry you. It didn't demand I torture you for 8 years. Sebastian leaned his forehead against the doorframe. But that's what I've done, isn't it? Tortured you with my absence. Punished you for a situation neither of us chose. Yes. The single word held 8 years of pain. Julian arrives tomorrow, Sebastian said. He's going to see all of it. Everything I've done, everything I've failed to do, and he's going to hate me for it. He already hates you for it. Sebastian's head came up. What? He writes to me, Vivian said through the closed door. Twice a year. Letters full of guilt and anger and questions about whether I'm happy. I lie to him. I tell him everything is fine. I protect you even though you've never protected me. Why? Because he's your brother. Because family matters even when it shouldn't. Because... Her voice broke. Because some pathetic part of me keeps hoping that if I'm good enough, patient enough, perfect enough, you'll finally see me. Sebastian felt tears on his face and didn't care. I see you, Vivian. I've always seen you. I've just been too much of a coward to admit it. The lock clicked. The door opened 6 inches. Vivian looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. Prove it. What? You say you see me. Prove it. Her chin lifted. Tell me something about me that you couldn't know unless you'd actually been paying attention. Something real. Something that proves I'm not just furniture you walk past every day. Sebastian's mind raced. You sing when you think no one is listening. Vivian's expression didn't change. Everyone knows that. You sing Italian arias from operas you've never seen. You learned them from your mother before she died. He took a breath. Your favorite is O mio babbino caro, and you always cry during the last verse because it reminds you of her. Her hand tightened on the door. Keep going. You bite your lower lip when you're concentrating. You arrange the library books by color instead of subject when you're anxious. You hate tea but drink it anyway because it's expected. The words came faster now. You wear your mother's locket under your gowns where no one can see it. You're allergic to lilies, but you never told the housekeeper because you didn't want to cause trouble. You read the same novel every Christmas, Pride and Prejudice, because it was the last gift your father gave you before he died. Vivian was staring at him. How? You asked if I've been watching. I have. For 8 years I've been watching and noticing and cataloguing every detail because you're the only real thing in my entire fabricated life. Sebastian's voice was shaking. I know you take your breakfast at 7, but you're not really awake until 8. I know you avoid the East Wing on Thursday afternoons because that's when my mother holds her tea parties. I know you've redecorated your sitting room 3 times in 6 years, and each time you choose warmer colours as if you're trying to compensate for... Stop. Vivian's voice was barely a whisper. Please stop. Why? Because you're making it worse. She was crying harder now. You've been watching me suffer for 8 years and you did nothing. Nothing. You just watched and wrote it down and documented my loneliness like it was some academic exercise. I know. Sebastian felt like he was drowning. I know how it sounds. I know how monstrous it is. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I need you to know that you're not invisible. You've never been invisible. Not to me. Then why? She couldn't finish the question. Because I'm broken, he said simply. Because my father taught me that loving someone means destroying them. Because I watched him break my mother and I swore I'd never do that. But I did it anyway, didn't I? Just in a different way. Vivian wiped her eyes roughly. Your father was cruel because he was cruel. You're cruel because you're a coward. Yes. The admission seemed to surprise her. You're agreeing with me? You're right. I am a coward. Sebastian looked at her directly. I've hidden behind duty and propriety and carefully maintained distance for 8 years because the alternative actually being your husband, actually risking connection, terrified me more than loneliness ever could. And now, Vivian's voice was hard. What changed? Why tonight? I heard you say you loved me. The words hung in the air between them. And, she prompted, her face giving away nothing. And I realized I've been waiting 8 years to hear those words. Hoping for them, desperate for them, even though I'd done everything possible to ensure you'd never feel that way about me. Sebastian swallowed hard. You said it in your sleep to an empty room because you'd given up hope I'd ever care. And hearing you say my name with that much love and that much pain, I couldn't pretend anymore. Pretend what? That I don't love you too. Vivian went very still. What did you say? I love you. The words felt foreign in his mouth, terrifying and true all at once. I've loved you for years, and I've been too damaged and too proud and too goddamn scared to admit it. But I can't. I won't let another day pass with you thinking you're invisible to me. You're not. You're all I see. She stood, frozen tears streaming down her face, her hand gripping the doorframe so hard her knuckles were white. Say something, Sebastian whispered. Please. You're lying. I'm not. You're lying. Vivian repeated, her voice gaining strength. You don't love me. You love the idea of me. You love the tragic romance of it all. You heard me crying and felt guilty, and now you're spinning this fairy tale where you've secretly adored me all along. But it's not real, Sebastian. It's just guilt dressed up as devotion. Vivian, no. She stepped back into her room. I won't do this. I won't let you rewrite history because Julian's coming home and you're terrified of being exposed. I won't. A knock at the end of the corridor made them both freeze. Your Grace. Stevens, the secretary, sounded apologetic. I'm terribly sorry to disturb, but Lady Constance has requested your immediate presence. She says it's urgent. Sebastian closed his eyes. Tell her I'm indisposed. She anticipated you might say that, Your Grace. She asked me to inform you that she's received word from Lord Julian. There's been a change of plans. Vivian's breath caught. What kind of change? Stevens hesitated. Perhaps this conversation would be better held privately, Your Grace. Tell us, Sebastian demanded. Now. Lord Julian has decided to arrive tonight rather than tomorrow morning. His carriage was spotted on the North Road 15 minutes ago. He should reach the estate within the half hour. The words fell like stones into deep water. Vivian's face went white. Tonight? He's coming tonight. It appears so, Your Grace. Stevens shifted uncomfortably. Lady Constance is in the drawing room. She wishes to discuss the arrangements. Of course she does, Sebastian muttered. Tell her I'll be there in 5 minutes. Stevens bowed and retreated, his footsteps echoing down the corridor. Sebastian turned back to Vivian. We need to finish this conversation. No. She was already closing the door. We don't. Julian's coming. That means the performance begins. You'll be the perfect Duke. I'll be the perfect Duchess. And we'll both pretend that nothing is wrong, just like we've done for 8 years. Vivian, go to your mother, Sebastian. She's waiting. The door was almost closed now. And tomorrow, when Julian asks me if I'm happy, I'll lie to him, just like I always do. Because that's what we do in this family, isn't it? We lie, we pretend, we perform. I meant what I said. Sebastian's hand was on the door, holding it open by inches. About loving you, about seeing you. I meant all of it. Maybe you did. Vivian's eyes were red but dry now, all her tears spent. Maybe in this moment, standing here filled with guilt and fear, you actually believe it. But tomorrow, you'll go back to being the Duke of Thornfield, and I'll go back to being the ghost who haunts these corridors, and we'll both pretend tonight never happened. I won't. You will. She pulled the door closed with quiet finality. You always do. The lock clicked into place. Sebastian stood in the corridor, staring at the wood that separated them, and heard his wife begin to cry again on the other side. He pressed his palm flat against the door, wanted to break it down, wanted to force her to listen, to believe him, to give him the chance he'd never earned and didn't deserve. Instead, he turned and walked toward the drawing room where his mother was waiting to discuss how to manage his brother's inconvenient early arrival. Each step felt like betrayal. By the time he reached the drawing room, he'd rebuilt every wall Vivian had torn down, composed his face into the mask of ducal authority, prepared himself to perform the role he'd perfected over 8 years. His mother sat in her usual chair, black silk and sharp angles. Finally, we have 30 minutes, Sebastian. 30 minutes to prepare for your brother's return. Tell me, did you manage to speak with your wife about expectations for his visit? We spoke. And she understands the situation. Lady Constance's eyes narrowed. You look terrible. What happened? Nothing that concerns you. Everything that happens in this household concerns me. She rose, moved closer. Did you tell her about Julian, about why he really left? Sebastian's hands clenched. No. Good. That particular truth would serve no purpose except to create more drama. She studied his face. But something happened. I can see it. You look like a man who's been flayed alive. I had a difficult conversation with my wife. That's all. About what? Mother, drop it. Lady Constance was silent for a moment. Then, she knows Julian loved her first. Everyone knows that. But she doesn't know the rest of it, does she? She doesn't know that Julian was prepared to defy your father and marry her anyway. That it was you who convinced him to leave. I did what was necessary. Sebastian's voice was flat. Father was dying. He needed an heir in place. Julian was reckless and emotional and entirely unsuitable for the role. Yes, I know the justification. I helped you craft it. Lady Constance returned to her chair. But does your wife know? Does she know you actively prevented Julian from marrying her, that you manipulated him into leaving so you could take his place? It wasn't manipulation, it was duty. Call it what you like. The end result is the same. You got what you wanted, and Julian got exile. She picked up her teacup. And now he's coming home to see what you've built with the woman he loved. This should be interesting. A servant appeared at the door. Your Grace, the carriage has been spotted at the gate. Sebastian's stomach dropped. Already? The roads were better than expected, Your Grace. Lord Julian should arrive within minutes. Very well. Have the household assembled to greet him. I'll be there directly. The servant bowed and left. Lady Constance rose. Shall we go receive your brother? I'm quite interested to see if 8 years has mellowed him or sharpened his edges. Sebastian didn't answer. He was already moving toward the entrance hall, his heart hammering, his mind racing with everything that could go wrong in the next few minutes. He should have stayed with Vivian, should have broken down that door, should have made her listen, made her believe, made her understand that he wasn't lying when he said he loved her. But instead, he was doing exactly what she'd predicted, walking away, performing his role, choosing duty over truth. The entrance hall was ablaze with light and activity. Servants lined up in formation. The fires roared, everything perfect, everything precise, everything designed to project the image of a well-run ducal household. A mask, like everything else in Sebastian's life. The sound of horses and carriage wheels on gravel. Then voices. Then the door opening. Julian Thornfield stepped into his brother's house for the first time in 5 years. He was taller than Sebastian remembered. Leaner. His dark hair was longer, his face more weathered. He wore travel clothes instead of formal dress, and his eyes, those sharp, perceptive eyes that missed nothing, swept the assembled household before landing on Sebastian. "Brother," Julian's voice was cool, "you're looking well." "As are you." Sebastian extended his hand. "Welcome home." Julian looked at the offered hand for a long moment before taking it. His grip was firm, challenging. "Where's Vivienne? Not where's the Duchess, or where's your wife?" Just Vivienne, familiar, intimate. "She's indisposed," Lady Constance interjected smoothly. "The hour is late, and I asked my brother, not you, aunt." Julian released Sebastian's hand. "Where is she?" "In her chambers," Sebastian said, keeping his voice level. "She wasn't expecting you until morning." "I sent word I was coming early." "We received it 30 minutes ago." Julian's eyes narrowed. 30 minutes, and you haven't told her I'm here." "I was about to send word." "Don't bother." Julian moved toward the stairs. "I'll find her myself." "That's not appropriate," Lady Constance said sharply. "A lady in her bedchamber." "Save it." Julian was already climbing. "Vivian and I grew up together." I think I can manage a conversation without scandalizing anyone. Sebastian caught his arm. Julian. Wait. His brother turned, and Sebastian saw it clearly in his eyes. The accusation, the anger that hadn't dimmed over 5 years of absence. 8 years, Julian said quietly, so only Sebastian could hear. 8 years you've had her. Tell me, brother, have you made her happy, even once? Sebastian had no answer. Julian pulled his arm free and continued up the stairs. Sebastian stood frozen, watching his brother disappear down the corridor that led to Vivian's chambers. 30 seconds later, he heard Julian's voice raised in shock. Christ, Viv, what has he done to you? And then Vivian's broken response. Julian! Oh, God! Julian, you came back! The sound of her saying another man's name with that much relief, that much love, felt like a knife between Sebastian's ribs. He'd lost her. Standing in the entrance hall of his own estate, surrounded by servants and candles and all the trappings of his position, Sebastian understood with perfect clarity that he'd lost his wife years ago. He just hadn't noticed until his brother came home to claim what had always been his. Sebastian stood at the base of the stairs, listening to his wife cry in another man's arms, and felt his world fracture along fault lines he'd spent 8 years pretending didn't exist. Your Grace. Stevens appeared at his elbow, voice carefully neutral. Shall I have rooms prepared for Lord Julian? He knows where his rooms are, Sebastian said flatly. He grew up in this house. Of course, Your Grace, I only thought... Leave it, Stevens. The secretary bowed and retreated, taking the assembled servants with him. Within moments, Sebastian was alone in the entrance hall, staring up at the darkness where his brother had vanished. Lady Constance's hand landed on his shoulder. Let them talk. It's better this way. Better. Sebastian turned on her. My wife is crying in my brother's arms. How exactly is that better? Because now you see it clearly. His mother's voice was sharp. The truth you've been avoiding for 8 years. She never loved you, Sebastian. She never will. Her heart belonged to Julian from the beginning, and you were simply the obstacle that duty placed between them. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Lady Constance moved closer. I was there the summer they met. I watched that girl follow your brother around like a puppy. I saw the way she looked at him like he hung the moon and stars. And then your father died, and suddenly Julian was inconvenient and you needed a wife, and we convinced everyone it was the sensible solution. Sebastian's jaw clenched. It was the sensible solution. For whom? Not for her. Certainly not for Julian. His mother's eyes were cold. And not for you either, if tonight is any indication. You've spent 8 years trying to make yourself not care, and the moment your brother returns, all that careful control shatters. I'm not discussing this with you. Then discuss it with yourself. Lady Constance gathered her skirts. But do it quickly, Sebastian. Because Julian is up there right now reminding your wife of everything she gave up when she married you. And unless you plan to actually fight for her, something you've shown no inclination to do in 8 years, you're going to lose her completely. She left him standing there, her words echoing in the empty hall. Sebastian knew he should go upstairs, should interrupt whatever reunion was happening in Vivienne's chambers, should assert his rights as her husband, her duke, the man she'd vowed before God to honor. But his feet wouldn't move, because his mother was right. He had no idea how to fight for something he'd spent 8 years systematically destroying. Upstairs, Julian knocked softly on Vivienne's door. Viv, it's me. The door opened immediately. Vivienne stood there still in her dressing gown, her face ravaged by tears. For a moment they just stared at each other. Then she threw herself into his arms. You're real, she whispered against his shoulder. I was starting to think I'd imagined you, that the whole summer we had together was just a dream I'd invented to survive this nightmare. Julian held her tightly, his own eyes wet. I'm real. I'm here. And Christ, Viv, what has he done to you? What hasn't he done? She pulled back, wiping her face roughly. Or rather, what has he done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing for 8 years, except prove that I'm the biggest fool who ever lived. You're not a fool. I married a man who despises me. I've spent 8 years hoping he'd change, praying he'd see me waiting like some pathetic... Her voice broke. I'm exactly a fool. Julian cupped her face in his hands. He's the fool, for not seeing what's right in front of him, for not cherishing what he has, for wasting 8 years that I would have given... He stopped himself. What would you have given? Everything. The word came out rough. I would have given everything to be in his place, to have the right to call you my wife, to wake up every morning knowing you were mine. Vivian's breath caught. Julian, I know I shouldn't say it. You're his wife. You made vows. But God, Viv, you have to know I never stopped. Even after they sent me away. Even after I tried to move on, tried to forget. I never stopped loving you. The confession hung between them, dangerous and true. You left me, Vivian whispered. Your father died and you left. You got on a ship and disappeared for 5 years, because staying would have destroyed everything. Julian's hands fell away. Your reputation, my relationship with Sebastian, the estate, everything. They needed a duke, and I couldn't. So you sacrificed me instead. I sacrificed us. His voice was raw. I told myself it was noble, that I was doing the right thing, that Sebastian would take care of you, that he'd be a better husband than I could ever be. And for 5 years I convinced myself it was true. Until tonight. Until I saw your face. Julian's expression was anguished. Until I heard you crying. Until I realized that my noble sacrifice turned into your prison sentence. Vivian sank onto the edge of her bed. He told me tonight that he loves me. Julian went very still. What? Sebastian? He came to my door at midnight and told me he's loved me for years, that I'm all he sees, that he's been watching me and noticing me and documenting my every habit, like I'm some experiment. Do you believe him? I don't know. She laughed bitterly. Part of me wants to. God, how I want to believe that 8 years of silence and neglect were just what? A misunderstanding, a communication failure, that underneath all that coldness he actually cares. But you're here now. Vivian looked up at him. And suddenly he's desperate to convince me he loves me. Suddenly he's knocking on my door and saying all the right words. It's too convenient, Julian. Too perfectly timed. Maybe he means it. Or maybe he's terrified of losing his possession to his brother. She stood paced to the window. I'm not an idiot. I know what this looks like. The golden sun returns and suddenly the cold husband remembers his wife exists. It's not love, it's competition. Julian moved to stand beside her. What do you want, Viv? Forget about Sebastian and me and duty and all of it. What do you want? I want to feel something other than lonely. Her voice broke again. I want to wake up and not dread the day ahead. I want to have a conversation that matters. I want someone to look at me like I'm a person instead of a problem to be managed. You deserve all of that. Do I? Vivian turned to face him. Because I've spent 8 years trying to be perfect. The perfect duchess, the perfect hostess, the perfect invisible wife who makes no demands and causes no trouble. And what has it gotten me? A husband who forgets our anniversary, a household that barely knows I exist, a life so empty that I cry myself to sleep talking to God because there's no one else who will listen. Julian's hands clenched. I want to kill him. Don't. She touched his arm. He's your brother. He's a bastard who's been systematically destroying the woman I love. The words fell into the room like stones. Julian. I know. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. You're his wife and I need to respect. Stop. Vivian's voice was sharp. Stop apologizing for feeling something real. Stop pretending that the situation we're in is anything other than a complete disaster. And stop treating me like I'm made of glass. Then what do you want me to do? I don't know. She was crying again. I don't know what I want. I don't know what's right. I just know that I can't keep living like this. I can't spend another 8 years waiting for a man who will never see me. I can't. I won't die of loneliness while my husband documents my suffering in a journal. Julian pulled her into his arms again. Then don't. Come away with me. Vivian froze. What? Leave him. Leave all of this. His voice was urgent now. We'll go to the continent, Italy, France, somewhere no one knows us, somewhere you can breathe again. I can't. That's insane. I'm a duchess. I have responsibilities. The scandal would be nothing compared to what you're enduring now. Julian pulled back to look at her. Viv, I watched you tonight. I saw the way you flinched when Stevens announced me. I saw the terror on your face at the thought of me seeing what your life has become. You're not living. You're surviving. Barely. And running away will fix that. It will give you a choice. It will give you a life. It will give you... He stopped himself again. What? Me. The word was simple, devastating. It will give you me. If you want me. If you can forgive me for leaving you the first time. If you're willing to risk everything for the chance of something real. Vivian stared at him, her heart hammering. You're asking me to abandon my marriage. I'm asking you to save yourself. By destroying Sebastian, by humiliating him publicly, by proving that his worst fears about us were right all along. His worst fears? Julian's voice hardened. What about your worst reality? What about the fact that you've been dying inch by inch for 8 years, while he's done nothing but watch? He said he's been broken, that his father... I know what his father was. Julian cut her off. I grew up in the same house. Remember, I saw the same cruelty. But I didn't let it turn me into a monster who tortures his wife with indifference. He's not a monster. Then what is he, Viv? Julian demanded. Because from where I'm standing, a man who hears his wife crying herself to sleep and does nothing about it for 8 years is worse than a monster. He's a coward. Vivian flinched. Don't. Why not? It's true. My brother is brilliant and capable and strong in every way except the one that matters. He's terrified of his own heart, and you've paid the price for his cowardice. And what are you, Julian? Vivian's voice was sharp now. Standing here asking me to run away with you, to destroy my marriage, to ruin both our reputations, what does that make you? Desperate. His answer was immediate. Desperate and honest and completely in love with a woman who deserves better than what she's been given. Love. Vivian laughed bitterly. Everyone keeps using that word tonight. Sebastian loves me. You love me. But love without action is just pretty words, and I'm so tired of pretty words. Then let me prove it. Julian took her hands. Let me show you what love actually looks like. Not distance disguised as protection, not surveillance disguised as care. Real love, present, attentive, committed. By making me your mistress, by turning me into a scandal.
By making you my wife. Julian's voice was steady. Properly. The way I should have done 8 years ago. We'll go somewhere, divorce is possible. It will take time and it will be ugly, but eventually, divorce. Vivian pulled her hands away.
Julian, this is England. The scandal would destroy both our families. Sebastian's reputation is built on a lie, Julian said harshly. A lie that you've been maintaining for 8 years, the perfect ducal marriage, the impeccable household, the Duchess who knows her place, all of it a performance to hide the fact that my brother can't bring himself to actually have a marriage. Stop it. Why? Because the truth is uncomfortable. Because saying it out loud makes you complicit in the charade. Vivian's hand cracked across his face. The slap echoed in the small room. Julian's head turned with the force of it, but he didn't step back. Didn't raise a hand to his reddening cheek. Just looked at her with those dark eyes that had haunted her dreams for 8 years. I deserved that, he said quietly. You deserved worse. Vivian's voice shook. How dare you come into my room, into my home, and tell me that my suffering is my own fault? That I'm complicit? That I've been maintaining a lie? Viv, I've been surviving. She was shouting now, and she didn't care who heard. I've been doing everything in my power to make an impossible situation bearable. I've been protecting your brother's reputation because despite everything, he's still my husband. I've been protecting your family's name because it's my name too now. And you have the audacity to call that complicity. I'm sorry. Julian's voice was rough. You're right. I'm sorry. That was cruel and unfair, and a knock at the door cut him off. They both froze. Vivian. Sebastian's voice careful and controlled. May I come in? Vivian. And Julian stared at each other. Her hand was still raised from the slap. His cheek was still red. They were standing close enough that anyone opening the door would draw immediate conclusions. One moment, Vivian called out, her voice surprisingly steady. She stepped away from Julian, smoothed her dressing gown, wiped her face. Julian was just leaving. Was I? Julian's voice was low. Yes. She met his eyes. You were. Because this is my marriage and my choice and my life. And I won't have you and Sebastian treating me like a prize to be won. Julian held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. Of course. I apologize for overstepping. He moved toward the door, paused with his hand on the handle. But Viv, the offer stands. Whenever you're ready. If you're ever ready, I'll be waiting. Then he opened the door. Sebastian stood in the corridor, still in the same clothes from earlier, looking like he'd aged a decade in the past hour. His eyes went immediately to Julian's reddened cheek, then to Vivian's defensive posture, then back to his brother. Have a pleasant reunion. Sebastian's voice was ice. Illuminating. Julian's smile was sharp. Your wife has strong opinions about men who make promises they don't intend to keep. You might want to remember that. He brushed past Sebastian and disappeared down the corridor. Sebastian stepped into the room. Vivian didn't invite him, but she didn't stop him either. He told you to leave me, Sebastian said. It wasn't a question. He offered me a choice. And I told him to go to hell. Vivian's voice was flat. Just like I should tell you to go to hell for standing outside my door eavesdropping on a private conversation. I wasn't eavesdropping, I was waiting. Sebastian closed the door behind him, trying to decide if I had any right to interrupt. You don't. I know. He stayed near the door, kept his distance. But I'm here anyway. Because I need to say something, and if I don't say it now, I never will. Then say it and leave. I'm exhausted. Sebastian drew a breath. Julian's right.
About all of it. I am a coward. I have been torturing you.
And you deserve better than anything I've given you. If this is another guilt-driven apology, it's not. Sebastian cut her off. It's a confession and a request. Vivian crossed her arms. I'm listening. I convinced Julian to leave. The words came out in a rush. 8 years ago, when our father died, Julian came to me and said he was going to defy father's dying wishes. He was going to refuse the dukedom and marry you anyway. And I talked him out of it. The colour drained from Vivian's face. What? I told him it would destroy the family, that you deserved better than a second son with no prospects, that duty required sacrifice. I used every argument I could think of to convince him that leaving was the noble choice. Sebastian's voice was hollow. And it worked. He got on that ship believing he was protecting you, believing I would take care of you in his place. You manipulated him. Vivian's voice was barely a whisper. You manipulated both of us. Yes.
Why?
Because I wanted you. The confession tore out of him. Because I'd been watching you love my brother for months, and I was consumed with jealousy. Because I knew if Julian married you, I'd have to watch you be happy with him for the rest of my life. So I convinced him to leave, and then I took his place, and then I spent 8 years punishing you for not being able to love me the way you loved him. Vivian sat down slowly on the bed, her legs giving out. Oh my God. I need you to know. Sebastian's voice cracked. I need you to understand that every word I said earlier tonight was true. I do love you. I have loved you from the moment I met you. But it's been a selfish, possessive, poisonous kind of love. The kind that destroys instead of nurtures. And I'm so sorry. I'm so desperately sorry for what I've done to you. Stop! Vivian held up a hand. Just stop talking. I need to think. Of course. Sebastian moved toward the door. I'll leave you. No, leave you. Her voice was sharp. Stay right there. I have questions and you're going to answer them truthfully for once in our entire marriage. Sebastian froze. Anything. Did you ever plan to actually be my husband? Or was this always going to be a punishment marriage? I don't know. The honesty hurt. In the beginning, I told myself I'd win you over eventually, that you'd forget Julian and learn to love me instead. But then our wedding night came, and you looked so miserable, and I couldn't touch you, couldn't pretend you were choosing me willingly. So I left you alone. And the next night, I told myself I was being noble, giving you space, respecting your grief over Julian. Sebastian's hands clenched. But the truth is, I was terrified. Terrified that if I tried to actually be your husband, you'd reject me. That you'd confirm what I already believed, that I was the lesser brother, the consolation prize. So you rejected me first. Yes. And you've been rejecting me for 8 years to protect your own ego. Yes. Sebastian's voice was barely audible. Vivian stood, walked to him slowly. Look at me. He raised his eyes to hers. I'm going to tell you something, she said quietly. And I need you to actually hear it. Can you do that? Yes. I did love Julian. Past tense. Her voice was steady. I loved him the way a girl loves her first romance, completely, uncritically, with all the naive hope of someone who's never had her heart broken. Sebastian nodded, not trusting himself to speak. But that girl died the day I married you, Vivian continued. She died, and a woman took her place. A woman who understood that duty mattered more than desire.
That family came before personal happiness. That sometimes you marry one man while loving another, and you learn to live with it. Vivian, I'm not finished. Her eyes were hard. That woman, the one I became, tried desperately to love you.
Do you understand that I tried? I looked for signs that you wanted me. I learned your habits and your preferences. I ran your household and hosted your parties and did everything a wife should do. And I waited. For 8 years I waited for you to give me something, anything to build on. I know. You don't know. Her voice rose. You can't possibly know what it's like to offer yourself to someone every single day and have them look through you like you're not there. You can't know what it does to a person to be invisible in their own marriage. You're right. I don't know. I can't know. Sebastian's voice broke. But I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to... Trying isn't enough, Vivian was shouting now. Trying is what you should have done 8 years ago. Trying is what you should have done every day of our marriage. But now that Julian's back and you're terrified of losing me, now trying is too little too late. Then what do you want me to do? Sebastian demanded. Tell me. Tell me what I can do to fix this. You can't fix it, Vivian's voice cracked. You can't fix 8 years of neglect with one night of guilty conscience. You can't erase the damage with pretty words and belated confessions. You broke us, Sebastian. You broke me, and I don't know if there's anything left to salvage. There has to be. Sebastian reached for her, stopped himself. Please, there has to be something. Why? Vivian's eyes were wet. Because you love me. Because you're suddenly afraid of being alone. Or because you can't stand the thought of Julian having what you stole from him. Because I can't lose you. The words came out raw. Because the thought of you leaving, of you choosing him, of you being happy with someone who isn't me, it's destroying me. And I know that makes me selfish. I know it makes me a hypocrite after 8 years of pushing you away, but I can't. I won't just let you go without fighting. Then fight. Vivian's voice was cold. Prove that you mean what you're saying. Show me that you're capable of being the husband you should have been all along. Because right now you're just a desperate man saying desperate things because he's finally facing consequences. Sebastian stared at her, and she saw everything in his face. Fear, love, guilt, desperation. All of it churning together into something that might have moved her if she hadn't spent 8 years learning to protect herself from hope. I will, he said quietly. I will prove it. I will show you. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, I will earn back what I destroyed. We'll see. Vivian moved to the door, opened it. Now leave. I need to sleep. And tomorrow, when Julian joins us for breakfast, you will be civil, you will be appropriate, and you will not turn my home into a battleground. Vivienne, leave Sebastian, please. I have nothing left to give you tonight. He left, walked down the corridor to his own chambers, sat in the dark, and wondered how he'd managed to destroy everything that mattered in the name of protecting himself from pain. And 3 doors down, Vivian locked her door, climbed into bed and cried until there were no tears left. Because she'd realized something tonight that terrified her more than anything else. She still loved her husband, despite everything. Despite 8 years of neglect and cruelty and systematic erasure. She still loved him, and that made her the biggest fool of all. Morning came too early and too bright. Vivian woke to Margaret drawing back curtains, letting winter sun flood the room like an accusation. "Good morning, Your Grace." Margaret's voice was carefully neutral. "Shall I prepare your bath?" Vivian sat up, her head pounding from crying. "What time is it?" "8:30. You've missed breakfast, but I can have a tray sent up if—" "No." Vivian pushed back the covers. "I'll dress and go down. Are they both there?
Margaret didn't need to ask who they were.
His Grace is in the breakfast room. Lord Julian took his meal in the library an hour ago. They haven't spoken yet this morning. Thank God for small mercies. Vivian stood swayed slightly. Margaret caught her elbow. Your Grace, perhaps you should rest today. You look like I spent the night crying, I'm aware. Vivian pulled away gently. But I can't hide. That would only make everything worse. If I may speak freely, Your Grace. Margaret waited for Vivian's nod. The entire household is talking about Lord Julian's arrival, about the raised voices last night, about His Grace going to your chambers at midnight. Of course they are. Vivian laughed bitterly. What else do servants have to do but speculate about their employers' disasters? They're worried about you. Margaret's voice softened. We all are. You've been so diminished these past years. And now with Lord Julian back and His Grace suddenly paying attention. She stopped herself. Forgive me. I've overstepped. No. Vivian touched her hand. You're the only person in this house who tells me the truth. Don't stop now. What are they saying? Margaret hesitated. That Lord Julian still loves you. That he left because he was forced to, not because he wanted to. And that His Grace has been a fool for 8 years and he's finally realizing it. Anything else? That you deserve better than either of them? Margaret met her eyes. And that if you chose to leave, no one would blame you. Vivian's throat tightened. Help me dress. Something armor-like. I'm going to need it. 20 minutes later, she descended the stairs in a gown of deep burgundy, her hair arranged severely, her face a mask of ducal composure. Every inch the Duchess of Thornfield, every inch untouchable. Sebastian was alone in the breakfast room, staring at a plate of food he clearly hadn't touched. He stood when she entered. Good morning. Is it? Vivian moved to the sideboard, poured tea she didn't want. I hadn't noticed. Vivian, don't. She didn't turn around. Don't start. Not now. Not here where anyone could walk in. Then where? When? Sebastian's voice was strained. You won't talk to me in private. You won't see me in public. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to give me space. Vivian finally faced him. You're supposed to let me think without pressing me for answers I don't have. How much space? How much time? He took a step toward her. Because Julian is here. And he's not going to wait patiently while you win me back. Vivian's laugh was sharp. Sebastian, you can't win back something you never had. We've been married 8 years, and you've never once tried to actually be my husband. Now suddenly Julian appears and you're desperate to claim me. It's insulting. It's not about Julian. It's entirely about Julian. She set down her teacup with a crack. If he hadn't come back, would you be standing here begging for a chance? Would you have knocked on my door last night? Would you have suddenly remembered you have a wife? I don't know. The admission came hard. Maybe not. Maybe I would have continued the same pattern for another 8 years. But he did come back, and I did hear you crying. And I won't go back to pretending none of this matters. Well, I can't snap my fingers and make 8 years of damage disappear just because you've decided you're ready to try. I'm not asking you to... The door opened. Julian entered, stopped when he saw them. I apologize. I didn't realize you were... He started to retreat. Stay. Vivian's voice was cold. We're finished here anyway. Vivian, please. Sebastian reached for her. She stepped back. Don't touch me. You lost that right a long time ago. The words landed like a slap.
Sebastian's hand fell. Julian watched them both, his expression unreadable. Perhaps I should return later. Perhaps you should join us for breakfast like a civilized person, Vivian said. We are all adults here. We can manage a meal together without drama. Can we? Julian's eyes flicked to Sebastian. Because your husband looks like he wants to put me through a wall. My husband can control himself. Vivian sat, arranged her napkin. Can't you, Sebastian? The challenge hung in the air. Sebastian returned to his seat slowly. Of course. Julian joined them at the table. For several minutes the only sounds were silverware on china and the crackle of the fire. Then Julian broke the silence. So, this is pleasant. Extremely. Vivian didn't look up from her plate. Very domestic. Julian poured himself coffee. The happy family reunited at last. Julian.
Sebastian's voice was warning. What I'm making conversation. Isn't that what people do at breakfast? Talk about inconsequential things, pretend everything is fine. Stop it! Vivian set down her fork. Both of you, I will not sit here while you have some territorial pissing contest over my breakfast. No one's. Sebastian started. Yes, you are. Vivian stood. You're circling each other like wolves, and I'm the prize you're fighting over. And I'm done. I'm done being treated like property. I'm done being the battlefield for your brotherly rivalry. I'm done with all of it. She turned to leave. Where are you going? Sebastian demanded. Anywhere that isn't here. Vivian didn't stop walking. I'm going to ride. Alone. And if either of you follows me, I will have the stables saddle a faster horse, and you'll never catch me. The door slammed behind her. The two brothers sat in silence. Then Julian laughed, short, bitter. Well, that went well. This is your fault. Sebastian's voice was tight. My fault I'm not the one who spent 8 years making her miserable. You're the one who came back and destroyed what little peace we'd managed to build. Peace? Julian's laugh was incredulous. Is that what you call it? Your wife crying herself to sleep every night is peace. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been getting letters from her for 8 years, Sebastian. Letters she thought she was hiding. Letters where she tries so hard to pretend everything is fine and fails spectacularly. Julian leaned forward. Did you know she tried to kill herself 3 years ago? Sebastian went white. What laudanum? She took an entire bottle. Julian's voice was flat. Margaret found her in time, got the doctor, kept it quiet. But it happened. Your perfect Duchess so desperate to escape her perfect life that she tried to end it. You're lying. Ask Margaret. Ask the doctor. Ask anyone except your wife, because she's spent 3 years pretending it never happened. Julian stood. That's what your peace looks like, brother. That's what your careful distance has accomplished. Sebastian couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. So yes, Julian continued, I came back. I destroyed your comfortable arrangement, because comfortable for you meant death for her. And I'll be damned if I let you kill the woman I love just so you can maintain your emotional distance. He left Sebastian sitting there staring at nothing. Sebastian's hands shook as he poured whiskey despite the early hour. Laudanum, 3 years ago. While he'd been documenting her habits in his journal and congratulating himself on maintaining appropriate distance. He'd nearly killed her. His careful, noble restraint had nearly driven her to suicide. The study door crashed open. Lady Constance swept in without knocking. What happened at breakfast? Vivian just ordered a horse saddled. Julian is in the library drinking like a sailor and you're... She stopped seeing his face. What's wrong? Did you know? Sebastian's voice was hollow. 3 years ago. Did you know what Vivian tried to do? His mother's expression shuttered. I don't know what Julian told you, but... So you did know. Sebastian stood. You knew my wife tried to kill herself and you said nothing. It wasn't she was having a difficult time. The doctor said it was nerves, nothing serious. Nothing serious? Sebastian's control snapped. She took laudanum mother, an entire bottle. That's not nerves, that's desperation. She was fine afterwards. The doctor managed it. There was no need to alarm you. No need to... Sebastian couldn't finish. My wife nearly died and you didn't think I should know. What would you have done? Lady Constance demanded. Suddenly started paying attention, pretended to care. It would have made things worse. She would have known it was pity, not genuine affection. So you chose to let me continue in ignorance. Let me keep destroying her slowly instead of quickly. I chose to protect this family from scandal. His mother's voice was sharp. If word had gotten out that the Duchess of Thornfield was unstable, that she'd attempted the damage would have been irreparable. The damage is already irreparable, Sebastian shouted. Can't you see that I've broken something that can't be fixed? I've pushed her so far that she'd rather die than continue living as my wife. And you helped me do it by keeping me in the dark. I was protecting you. I don't want your protection. Sebastian's voice cracked. I want the truth. For once in my entire life, I want someone in this family to tell me the goddamn truth instead of managing me like a child. Lady Constance's face hardened. The truth. Fine. Here's truth. Your wife is fragile. She always has been. Emotional, overwrought, prone to dramatics. The laudanum incident was a cry for attention, nothing more. Get out. Sebastian. Get out of my study. Out of my house. Pack your things and leave. Today. His mother stared at him. You can't be serious. I have never been more serious in my life. Sebastian's voice was deadly calm. You have spent 8 years poisoning my marriage, undermining Vivian, whispering in my ear about duty and distance and appropriate behavior, and I listened. God help me, I listened. But no more. If I leave, this household will fall apart. Good. Let it fall apart. Let everything fall apart. Because it's built on lies and cruelty and systematic abuse dressed up as aristocratic propriety. Sebastian moved to the door, opened it. You have until this evening. Take whatever you need. I'll have the rest sent to the London house. You'll regret this. Lady Constance's voice was ice. When she leaves you, and she will leave you, Sebastian, because Julian will convince her to, you'll realize you need family, and I won't be there. Thank God for small mercies. Sebastian held the door. Goodbye, Mother. She left without another word, her skirts snapping with fury. Sebastian closed the door and leaned against it. His heart was hammering. He'd just banished his own mother, destroyed the carefully maintained family structure, burned down everything she'd spent years building. And it felt like the first honest thing he'd done in 8 years. He found Margaret in the servants' hall. Your Grace. She stood quickly. Is something wrong? I need you to tell me about 3 years ago. Sebastian's voice was steady. About the laudanum. About what really happened. Margaret went pale. Your Grace, I don't think... Please. The word came hard. I need to know. I need to understand what I've done to her. Margaret looked at him for a long moment. Then she gestured to the small servants' parlour. In here. This isn't a conversation for the hallway. She closed the door behind them, took a breath. It was January. 3 years ago this week, actually. Her voice was quiet. Her grace had been deteriorating. That's the only word for it. She barely ate, barely slept, spent hours sitting at her window just staring at nothing. Sebastian listened, his throat tight. I tried to talk to her, tried to help, but she kept saying she was fine, that everything was fine. Then one morning I came in to wake her and she was... Margaret's voice broke. She was barely breathing. There was an empty laudanum bottle on the nightstand. She'd taken it all. What did you do? I screamed for help. Got the doctor. He gave her something to make her sick, got most of it out of her system. She was unconscious for 2 days. Margaret wiped her eyes. When she woke up, she begged me not to tell you. Said you wouldn't care anyway. That she'd just be embarrassing everyone for nothing. Jesus Christ. Sebastian's voice was barely audible. The doctor wanted to tell you. Wanted to have her watched. But Lady Constance intervened. Said it would be handled privately. That bringing you into it would only make things worse. Margaret met his eyes. She was wrong, Your Grace. Keeping you in the dark. Only let it continue. Only let her Grace believe she was truly invisible. Did she try again after that? No, but only because I've been watching, making sure she's never alone for too long, making sure the laudanum stays locked away. Margaret's voice hardened. I've been doing your job, Your Grace. For 3 years, I've been keeping your wife alive because you couldn't be bothered to notice she was dying. The accusation landed like a physical blow. You're right. Sebastian's voice was raw. You're absolutely right. And I'm sorry. For all of it. For failing her. For failing to see what was right in front of me. Telling me you're sorry doesn't help her Grace. I know. Sebastian stood. Where is she now? Where does she go when she rides? The East Woods. There's a clearing about 2 miles out. She goes there when she needs to be alone. Thank you. Sebastian moved to the door. Your Grace. Margaret's voice stopped him. If you're going to her, don't go to apologize, don't go to explain, don't go to ask for forgiveness. Then what should I do? Go to listen. Margaret's eyes were steady. For once in 8 years, just listen to what she needs. Not what you need, not what your conscience needs, what she needs. Sebastian nodded and left. He found Vivian exactly where Margaret said she'd be, sitting in a clearing, her horse grazing nearby, staring at nothing. She heard him approach but didn't turn. I told you not to follow me. I know. Sebastian dismounted. I'm breaking all kinds of rules today. Might as well add one more. Sebastian. Julian told me about the laudanum. The words came out fast before he could lose his nerve. 3 years ago. I know what you tried to do. Vivian went rigid. That bastard. He had no right. He had every right. I'm your husband. I should have known. I should have... Sebastian's voice broke. Christ, Vivian. I almost lost you, and I didn't even know it. You didn't lose me. You never had me to lose. She still wouldn't look at him. That's not true. Isn't it? She finally turned, and the emptiness in her eyes gutted him. Sebastian, you've spent 8 years making it abundantly clear that I'm an obligation, a duty, a piece of furniture that happens to share your name. Don't pretend now that my death would have affected you. It would have destroyed me. No. Her voice was flat. It would have inconvenienced you. You would have had to remarry. Find another duchess to manage your household. Go through the whole tedious process again. But destroyed, please. You don't believe that. I don't know what I believe anymore. Vivian stood, brushed off her riding habit. I took that laudanum because I wanted to stop existing, because existing as your wife, invisible, untouched, unacknowledged, was more painful than dying. And do you know what the worst part was? What? I failed. Her laugh was bitter. I couldn't even kill myself properly. Margaret found me. The doctor saved me. And then I had to wake up and continue living in the same nightmare, except now I knew that even death didn't want me. Don't say that. Sebastian reached for her. She stepped back. Why not? It's true. I'm unwanted everywhere. By you. By death. By everyone except Julian, and his wanting me is just guilt and nostalgia and... Stop it. Sebastian's voice was hard. Stop telling yourself you're unwanted. Stop believing the lies I've spent 8 years teaching you. They're not lies if they're true. They're not true. Sebastian grabbed her shoulders, forced her to look at him. You are wanted. You are seen. You are God, Vivian. You're everything. You always have been. I've just been too damaged and too proud and too terrified to admit it. Let go of me. Her voice was shaking. No. Sebastian's grip tightened. Not until you hear me. Really hear me. I know I have no right to touch you. I know I've forfeited every claim to your affection, but I need you to understand the laudanum, the suicide attempt, the desperation that's on me. Not you. You're not unwanted. I'm just a coward who couldn't handle wanting you as much as I did. That doesn't make sense. Vivian tried to pull away. If you wanted me, you would have... I would have what touched you, spoken to you, treated you like a wife. Sebastian's voice cracked. I couldn't. Every time I tried, every time I thought about crossing that distance, I saw my father.
Saw his hands on my mother, saw the bruises he left, heard her crying, and I couldn't risk becoming him. So you became nothing instead. Vivian's voice was hollow. You chose absence over presence, neglect over abuse, as if those were the only options. I know. Sebastian's hands fell away. I know how broken that thinking is. I know it doesn't excuse anything, but it's the truth. I was terrified that if I let myself love you, really love you the way you deserved, I'd destroy you the way my father destroyed my mother. Your father hit her, screamed at her, controlled every aspect of her life. Vivian's voice was hard. You're nothing like him. Aren't I? I've controlled you just as thoroughly. Just with silence instead of violence. I've destroyed you just as completely, just slower, more subtly. Yes, the word was simple, devastating. You have. They stood in the clearing, the truth hanging between them like smoke. I've asked my mother to leave, Sebastian said quietly. She's packing as we speak. She knew about the laudanum and never told me. She's been poisoning our marriage for 8 years, and I've been letting her. Vivian's eyes widened. You what? She's leaving. Today. I won't have her in my house anymore. Won't have her whispering about duty and distance and appropriate aristocratic behavior. Sebastian's voice was steady. I've spent 8 years listening to her instead of you. That ends now. Sebastian, she's your mother. And you're my wife. He cut her off. You should have been my priority 8 years ago. You're my priority now. Now. Vivian repeated the word. Now that Julian's back. Now that you're terrified of losing me. Now that the consequences of your neglect are staring you in the face. Yes. Sebastian didn't look away. I'm not going to lie and pretend I had some grand revelation on my own. Julian's return forced me to see what I've been avoiding. But that doesn't make my realizations less real. It doesn't make my feelings less true. Your feelings, Vivian laughed bitterly. What feelings? Guilt, fear, possessiveness. Those aren't love, Sebastian. They're just selfishness in disguise. Maybe. He took a breath. But there's more.
I don't know how to describe it, this ache that's been in my chest for years. This constant awareness of where you are, what you're doing, whether you're happy. This need to see you even from a distance, to hear your voice even when it's not directed at me, to know you're in the same house, breathing the same air. That's not love. That's obsession. It's both. Sebastian's voice was raw. I've been obsessed with you, and in love with you, and terrified of you all at once, and I handled it by running away, by building walls, by pretending I didn't feel anything at all. Vivian stared at him. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't want you to say anything. Sebastian stepped back. I just wanted you to know. The laudanum. The suicide attempt. The fact that you were so desperate you'd rather die than continue as my wife, I know. I see it. And I will carry that knowledge for the rest of my life. Good. Her voice was cold. You should carry it. You should wake up every morning and remember that you broke me so thoroughly I tried to end my own life. I will. Sebastian's voice was barely audible. Every day. I promise you that. He turned to leave. Where are you going? Vivian called after him. Back to the house. You wanted space. I'm giving it to you. Just like that, you drop this revelation and then walk away. Sebastian turned back. What else would you have me do, Vivian? Stand here and demand forgiveness, force you to engage with me when you've made it clear you can't stand my presence? I don't know. She was crying now. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I feel. I don't know anything except that I'm so tired. So tired of hurting, so tired of hoping, so tired of trying to figure out if you're genuine or if this is just another performance. Sebastian crossed back to her in 3 strides, pulled her against his chest, held her while she sobbed. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry for all of it, for every moment of pain, for every tear, for every time you felt invisible. I'm sorry, and I know it's not enough, but it's all I have right now. Vivian's hands fisted in his coat. She was shaking, crying so hard she could barely breathe. And for the first time in 8 years, Sebastian held his wife and let himself feel the full weight of what he'd done. They stood like that for what felt like hours, Vivian crying into Sebastian's chest, while he held her like she might shatter if he let go. When her sobs finally quieted to hiccups, she pulled back, wiping her face roughly. This doesn't fix anything, she said, her voice hoarse. I know. One hug doesn't erase 8 years. I know. Stop saying you know. Vivian pushed at his chest. Stop being so reasonable about this. Fight back. Argue with me. Give me something other than passive acceptance. What do you want me to say? Sebastian demanded. That I'm angry, fine. I'm furious at myself, at my mother, at the situation we're in, at the fact that I've wasted 8 years and I can't get them back no matter how desperately I want to. That's better. Vivian's eyes flashed. At least that sounds real. You want real? Here's real. Sebastian's voice rose. I love you so much it terrifies me. I have loved you since the moment I saw you trailing after Julian at that garden party 9 years ago. I loved you when I married you. I loved you every single day I ignored you. And I hate myself for it because loving you and destroying you at the same time makes me the worst kind of monster. Vivian stared at him. 9 years. You've loved me for 9 years? Yes. Before the marriage, before your father died, when I was still with Julian. Yes. Sebastian's hands clenched. I watched you love my brother, and I wanted to die from jealousy. I wanted to be him so badly I could taste it. And when father died and duty gave me the excuse I needed, I took it. I took you from Julian because I couldn't stand the thought of watching you be happy with him for the rest of my life. Oh my God. Vivian's voice was barely a whisper. You really did manipulate everything. Yes. You destroyed your relationship with your brother. You stole me from the man I loved. You built this entire marriage on lies and jealousy and selfishness. Yes, Sebastian's voice broke. And then I punished you for 8 years because you couldn't love me the way you loved him. Because every time I looked at you, I saw my own inadequacy. Every time you smiled at a servant or laughed with Margaret, I remembered that you used to smile at Julian that way, and you'd never smile at me like that, and I couldn't bear it. So you made sure I stopped smiling altogether. The words hung in the air like an indictment. Yes. Sebastian's voice was hollow. I destroyed the very thing I loved, because I couldn't stand that it wasn't mine freely. And now Julian's back offering you everything I should have offered 8 years ago, and I have no right to ask you to choose me. No right at all. Vivian turned away from him. I need to think. Of course. Alone. Really alone this time. No following me. No grand gestures. No anything. Can you do that? Yes. Sebastian moved toward his horse. For what it's worth, Vivian, I meant what I said, about carrying the knowledge of the laudanum, about never forgetting what I've done. I won't let myself off the hook for this. Ever. Good. She didn't turn around.
Because I won't let you off the hook either. Sebastian rode back to the house alone, his chest tight with everything he'd said and everything he'd left unsaid. Julian was waiting for him in the entrance hall. Well, Julian's voice was hard. Did you fix it? Did one dramatic conversation in the woods solve 8 years of damage? No. Sebastian dismounted, handed the reins to a groom. But at least she knows the truth now. About the laudanum. About my mother. About all of it. And how did she take it? How do you think? Sebastian brushed past his brother. She's devastated, furious, confused, every emotion she should be feeling. Julian followed him. Did you tell her you love her? Yes. Did she believe you? Sebastian stopped walking. I don't know. I don't know if it matters whether she believes me or not. The facts remain. I broke her, and you're here offering to put her back together. Is that what you think I'm doing? Julian's voice was sharp. Swooping in to save her from her terrible husband, isn't it? No. Julian grabbed Sebastian's arm, forced him to turn around. I'm here because I love her. Because I've loved her for 9 years, and I made the mistake of listening to you when you said leaving was the noble thing to do. I won't make that mistake again. So you're going to take her from me. I'm going to give her a choice. Julian's eyes were hard. Something you've never done. I'm going to tell her she deserves better, and then I'm going to let her decide what she wants. If she chooses you, fine. I'll leave. I'll go back to the continent and I'll never return. But if she chooses me, you don't get to play the wounded husband. You don't get to guilt her or manipulate her or make this harder than it already is. You think I would? I know you would. Julian released him. Because I know you, Sebastian. I've watched you manipulate situations your entire life. You're brilliant at it. You convinced father to send me away. You convinced Vivian to marry you. You've convinced yourself for 8 years that neglecting your wife was somehow noble. You're a master manipulator, and the only person who doesn't see it is you. The accusation stung because it was true. What do you want from me, Julian? Permission to court my wife? I want you to step back. Julian's voice was steady. I want you to give Vivian actual space to figure out what she wants without you hovering and confessing and making everything about your guilt. Can you do that? No. Sebastian's voice was flat. I can't step back and watch you take her from me. I won't. Then you'll lose her anyway. Julian turned to leave. Because she's not going to choose a man who treats her like property. She's going to choose freedom. And if you're not willing to give her that, then you've already lost.
He left Sebastian standing in the corridor, his words echoing. Sebastian found himself in his study staring at the locked drawer that held his journal. 3 years of observations. 3 years of documenting Vivian's loneliness while doing nothing to alleviate it. He pulled out the journal, opened it to the last entry dated 6 months ago, November 15th. Vivian wore black today, though there's been no death. Margaret says she's been wearing mourning colours more frequently. Mourning what? Her lost youth, her wasted marriage. Me. I should ask her. I never will. Sebastian tore out the page, then another, and another, ripped through 3 years of cowardice, 3 years of passive observation, 3 years of carefully documented failure. When the journal was nothing but a spine and scattered pages, he threw it in the fire. Watching his own words burn felt like the smallest, most inadequate penance. A knock at the door. Margaret entered without waiting for permission. "Your Grace Lady Constance has left. The carriage just departed." "Good." Sebastian didn't turn from the fire. "She wanted me to give you a message." Margaret's voice was careful. "She said you'll regret this. That family is more important than temporary passion. That you're making a mistake that will haunt you." "Did she say anything else?" "Yes." Margaret hesitated. "She said the Duchess is poison. That she's turned you against your own mother. That she's forgive me, Your Grace. But these were her exact words, a manipulative little nobody who got far above her station." Sebastian's jaw clenched. "Thank you for the message, Margaret. You may go." "Actually, Your Grace, I have something else to say." Margaret stepped closer. "I know it's not my place. I know I'm overstepping. But someone needs to say this to you, and it might as well be me." "Go on. You're running out of time." Margaret's voice was blunt. "Her Grace is at a breaking point. I've seen it before, 3 years ago, right before the laudanum. She gets very quiet, very still, like she's already left and her body just hasn't caught up yet." Sebastian turned to face her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that all these grand gestures and dramatic confessions mean nothing if you don't actually change." Margaret met his eyes. "You banished your mother. That's good, but it's not enough. You need to show her Grace that you're not the same man who ignored her for 8 years. You need to prove it, every day, consistently, without expecting applause or forgiveness or gratitude." "How?" "Start by being present." Margaret's voice softened. "Have dinner with her. Not a grand formal affair, just the two of you talking. Ask her about her day, her thoughts, her dreams. Listen to the answers. Actually, listen, not just wait for your turn to speak. That's it. Just talk to her. That's everything, Your Grace." Margaret moved to the door. "You've spent 8 years being absent. The antidote is presence. Simple, boring, consistent presence." She left him alone with the burning journal and the weight of truth. Vivian returned to the house at twilight, her face composed, her eyes red. She went straight to her chambers, ignored the servants who tried to speak to her, locked her door. Margaret knocked softly. "Your Grace, may I come in?" Silence. Then the lock clicked. Margaret entered to find Vivian sitting at her vanity, staring at her reflection like she didn't recognize the woman looking back. "I look old," Vivian said quietly. "When did I get so old?" "You're 27, Your Grace. That's hardly old." "I feel ancient." Vivian touched her face. "I feel like I've lived 100 years in this house. Like every day has aged me a decade." Margaret began unpinning Vivian's hair. "His Grace asked me how to fix things."
And what did you tell him? To be present, to talk to you, to actually be your husband instead of performing the role. Vivian laughed bitterly. Good luck with that.
Sebastian doesn't know how to be anything other than the Duke. It's the only identity he has. I think you're wrong, Your Grace. Margaret's hands were gentle. I think he's terrified of being anything other than the Duke because everything else feels too vulnerable, too real. That's not my problem to fix. No. Margaret met Vivian's eyes in the mirror. It's not. Your only problem is deciding what you want. What you actually want, not what you think you should want, or what would cause the least scandal, or what would make everyone else happy. I don't know what I want. Yes, you do. Margaret's voice was firm. You've always known. You're just afraid to say it out loud. Vivian was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want to be loved. Actually loved. Not as a duty or an obligation or a prize to be won. I want someone to choose me every day, to see me, really see me, and decide that I'm worth the effort of showing up. And which brother can give you that? I don't know. Vivian's voice broke. Julian says he can, but he also left me once before. And Sebastian says he can now, but he's had 8 years to prove it, and he's only trying because Julian came back. How am I supposed to trust either of them? Maybe you're not. Margaret finished with her hair. Maybe you're supposed to trust yourself, to know that whatever choice you make, you're strong enough to survive it. I'm not strong. I tried to kill myself 3 years ago, remember? And you survived. Margaret's hands landed on Vivian's shoulders. You survived that. You've survived 8 years of a loveless marriage. You've survived neglect and invisibility and systematic erasure. If that's not strength, I don't know what is. Vivian's eyes filled with tears. What if I make the wrong choice? Then you'll make another choice after that, and another after that, until you find the life you're meant to live. Margaret squeezed her shoulders. You're not trapped, Your Grace. You've never been trapped. You've just been told you were for so long that you believed it. A knock at the door made them both turn. Vivian. Sebastian's voice hesitant. May I speak with you? Just for a moment. Vivian looked at Margaret, who nodded and slipped out through the dressing-room door. Vivian unlocked the main door. What do you want, Sebastian? He stood in the corridor, still in his riding clothes, looking exhausted. I wanted to ask if you'd have dinner with me tonight, just the two of us. No servants hovering, no formal courses, just dinner and conversation. Why? Because I don't know you. The admission came hard. I've been married to you for 8 years, and I don't know your favorite color, or your favorite book, or what you think about when you stare out windows, and I want to know. I want to actually know you, not just observe you from a distance. Vivian studied him. This is Margaret's advice, isn't it? Yes. Sebastian didn't lie. She told me to be present, to talk to you, to act like an actual husband instead of a distant duke. And she's right, so I'm here, asking. Will you have dinner with me? And if I say no, then I'll ask again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, until you either say yes or tell me explicitly that you never want to see me again. That sounds exhausting. I have 8 years of absence to make up for. Sebastian's voice was steady. I can handle exhausting. Vivian sighed. Fine. Dinner. But I'm not promising conversation. I might just sit there and eat in silence while you squirm. That's more than I deserve. Sebastian stepped back. 7 o'clock, I'll have them set up in the small dining room. Fine. He left. Vivian closed the door and leaned against it. What was she doing?
Why was she agreeing to this? Because despite everything, despite 8 years of evidence to the contrary, some pathetic part of her still hoped, still wanted to believe that Sebastian could change, that their marriage could be something other than a slow death. She was a fool. She knew it. But she couldn't seem to stop herself from hoping. 7 o'clock came too quickly. Vivian dressed carefully, not in anything seductive, but not in morning colours either. Something neutral, something that didn't send a message one way or the other. The small dining room was quiet when she arrived. Sebastian was already there, standing when she entered. "You came," he said, and he sounded genuinely surprised. "I said I would." Vivian sat. "Don't read too much into it." "I won't." Sebastian sat across from her. "Thank you for being here, for giving me this chance." A servant brought the first course. They ate in silence for several minutes. Then Sebastian spoke. "What's your favorite color?" Vivian looked up, startled. "What? Your favorite color? I realized earlier that I don't know. I've spent 8 years observing you, and I've never asked such a basic question." "Green." The answer came automatically. "Deep green, like forests in summer." "Why?" "Because it's alive, because it represents growth and change and—" She stopped. "Why does it matter?" "Because I want to know." Sebastian's voice was earnest. "I want to know everything. What's your favorite book? Pride and Prejudice. You already know that." "I know you read it every Christmas. I don't know why." Vivian set down her fork. "Because it's about a woman who refuses to settle for a marriage without love, who demands more than duty and obligation, who believes she deserves actual affection and respect and partnership. And you identify with her." "Of course I identify with her." Vivian's voice was sharp. "Except in my version, Elizabeth Bennet marries Mr. Darcy before his transformation. And instead of having his grand gesture moment in the rain, he just ignores her for 8 years while documenting her suffering in a journal." Sebastian flinched. "That's fair." "Is it? Because it feels cruel. And I'm tired of being cruel, even to you." "Then don't be cruel." Sebastian leaned forward. "Be honest. Tell me what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you want from this dinner, this conversation, this marriage." "I want to know why." Vivian's voice shook. "Why now? Why after 8 years? Why when Julian comes back? Do you suddenly remember I exist? Give me a reason to believe this isn't just competition, just 2 brothers fighting over a prize neither of them actually wants." "Because I heard you crying." Sebastian's voice was raw. "Because I heard you say my name with so much love and so much pain, and I couldn't pretend anymore. Couldn't hide behind distance and duty and all the excuses I've been using for 8 years. You broke something in me that night, Vivian. You broke through every wall I'd built, and I won't go back to the way things were." "Pretty words." Vivian's eyes were hard. "I've heard pretty words before. Sebastian, from you, from Julian. I'm done being moved by pretty words." "Then what will move you? What do you need from me?" "Time." Vivian stood. "I need time to figure out if you're capable of actual change or if this is just another performance. I need time to decide if I want to give you another chance or if I want to take Julian's offer and leave all of this behind." "Julian's offer?" Sebastian stood as well. "What offer?" "He asked me to run away with him, to leave you, to start over somewhere new where we could—" She stopped. "Where you could be happy." Sebastian finished, his voice hollow. "Where you could have the life you should have had if I hadn't manipulated everything." "Yes." "Are you going to accept—" "I don't know." Vivian moved toward the door.
I don't know anything anymore except that I'm tired of making decisions based on duty and obligation and what's expected. For once, I want to choose what I want, not what's right, not what's proper, what I actually want. And what do you want? Vivian turned back to look at him. I want to matter. I want to be someone's first choice, not their obligation. I want to wake up knowing that the person I'm married to actually wants to be married to me. Is that too much to ask? No. Sebastian's voice was thick. It's the bare minimum, and I've failed to provide even that. Yes, you have. Vivian opened the door. Thank you for dinner, Sebastian. It was enlightening. She left him standing in the small dining room surrounded by half-eaten food and the ruins of his attempt at connection. Sebastian sat back down heavily, stared at her empty chair. He'd thought one dinner would be enough, one conversation, one chance to show he was trying. But Margaret was right. Grand gestures meant nothing. He needed consistency, patience, a sustained effort over weeks and months and years. He needed to prove he could change, and he had no idea if he was capable of it. The next morning, Vivian woke to find a note slipped under her door. I know you need time, I know you need space, but I also know that actions matter more than words. So I'm going to show up every day, consistently, without expectation of forgiveness or gratitude. I'm going to be the husband I should have been 8 years ago. And if you still choose Julian in the end, if you decide I've damaged you too thoroughly to ever rebuild, I'll accept that. But I won't accept it without fighting. Not anymore. Vivian crumpled the note in her fist. Then she smoothed it out again, read it a second time, and hated herself for the hope that flickered to life in her chest. Because hope had nearly killed her before, and she wasn't sure she could survive it killing her again. 3 days passed. 3 days of Sebastian showing up exactly as he'd promised. He appeared at breakfast, didn't speak unless spoken to, simply sat across from her, ate his meal and left when she did. He was in the library when she went to read, didn't interrupt, just occupied the chair by the window with his own book present, but not intrusive. He walked the gardens when she walked them, kept his distance, never approached, just existed in the same space, proving he could be there without demanding anything. On the 4th morning, Vivian broke. "What are you doing?" she demanded over breakfast. Sebastian looked up from his plate. "Eating." "You know what I mean. This haunting, this following me around without speaking. What's the point?" "I'm being present." Sebastian's voice was calm. "You said you wanted someone who shows up, so I'm showing up." "This isn't showing up. This is stalking." "Would you prefer I go back to avoiding you entirely?" Vivian threw her napkin down. "I'd prefer you act like a normal human being instead of some ghost who hovers at the edges of my life." "Then tell me what you want." Sebastian set down his fork. "Tell me specifically what I should do differently, and I'll do it." "I want you to stop trying so hard." Vivian stood paced. "I want you to be genuine instead of performing some version of husband you think I need. I want—" She stopped. "I don't know what I want. That's the problem." "Then take more time to figure it out." Sebastian's voice was steady. "I'll wait." "For how long? A week, a month, a year?" Vivian turned on him. "When does your patience run out, Sebastian? When do you decide I've had enough time and demand an answer?" "Never." He met her eyes. "I'll wait as long as you need. Even if the answer is that you choose Julian, even if you decide you want neither of us, I'll wait." "That's not realistic."
Maybe not, but it's honest. Sebastian stood slowly. I've wasted 8 years, Vivian. I can wait however long it takes if it means there's even a chance you might forgive me. Before Vivian could respond, Julian entered the breakfast room. Am I interrupting? His voice was sharp. No. Vivian grabbed her tea. We were just finishing. Were you? Julian looked between them. Because it looked like my brother was making another grand gesture, more promises, more pretty words. Julian, Sebastian started. Save it. Julian cut him off. Viv, can we talk privately? Vivian looked at Sebastian, then at Julian. Fine. The drawing room. 5 minutes. She left. The two brothers stared at each other. You're going to lose, Julian said quietly. You know that, right? All this performing and promise-making, it's not going to work. Maybe. Sebastian's voice was hard. But at least I'm trying. Where have you been for 3 days while I've been showing up, hiding in the library, drinking in your rooms, waiting for her to come to you? I'm giving her space. You're waiting for me to fail. Sebastian moved closer. You're so convinced I can't change that you're not even trying to compete. You're just watching, judging, waiting to sweep in when I inevitably fall short. Because you will fall short. Julian's voice rose. You always do, Sebastian. You make big declarations and then you revert to type. You can't help it. It's who you are. People can change. Not you. Julian's laugh was bitter. You've been the same closed-off, emotionally stunted duke since the day father died. You think 3 days of showing up for breakfast changes 8 years of neglect. You think sitting quietly in the library erases the damage you've done. No. Sebastian's voice was flat. I know it doesn't erase anything, but it's a start. And unlike you, I'm not waiting around hoping Vivian will make the decision easy for me. I'm fighting for her. Fighting? Julian's voice dripped with contempt. You call this fighting? You're not fighting Sebastian. You're performing. You're doing what you think you should do, checking boxes, following advice from servants. There's no heart in it. No real feeling. Just duty dressed up as devotion. Sebastian's fist connected with Julian's jaw before he realized he'd swung. Julian stumbled back, hand to his face. There it is. There's the real you, violent, uncontrolled, just like father. I'm nothing like father. Sebastian's voice shook. Aren't you? Julian straightened. He hit mother when she challenged him too, when she pointed out truths he didn't want to hear. You've spent 8 years telling yourself you're different, but you're not. You're exactly the same, just better at hiding it. Sebastian's hands clenched. Get out! This is your house. You get to throw people out. Julian wiped blood from his lip. But you can't throw out the truth. And the truth is, Vivian deserves better than either of us. Better than your cold neglect. Better than my guilty nobility. She deserves someone who actually knows how to love her without destroying her in the process. He left. Sebastian stood alone in the breakfast room, staring at his own shaking hands. Julian was right. He'd hit him, lost control, proven that underneath all the restraint he was still his father's son. Vivian appeared in the doorway. I heard shouting. What happened? Nothing. Sebastian turned away. Julian and I had a disagreement. His lip is bleeding. I know. You hit him. It wasn't a question. Yes. Vivian was silent for a long moment. Why? Because he said I was like our father. Because he said I was performing instead of feeling. Because he was right and I couldn't stand hearing it. So you proved him right by hitting him? Yes. Sebastian's voice was hollow. I proved him right.
I proved that all my promises about change are empty. That underneath everything I'm still the same violent, uncontrolled man I've always been afraid of becoming. Stop it! Vivian's voice was sharp. Sebastian turned. Stop what? Stop wallowing. Stop making this about your guilt and your fear and your father's legacy. She moved closer. You hit Julian because he was goading you. Because he wanted you to lose control. Because he's just as invested in proving you can't change as you are in proving you can. That doesn't excuse... I'm not excusing it. Vivian cut him off. I'm explaining it. There's a difference. You lost your temper. You did something you regret. Welcome to being human instead of a perfectly controlled duke. Sebastian stared at her. You're not horrified. I'm disappointed, but not horrified. Vivian's voice was steady. Your father hit your mother regularly, systematically, as a way to control and demean her. You hit Julian once in anger after days of provocation. Those aren't the same thing. They could become the same thing. They could. Vivian held his gaze. Which is why you need to acknowledge what you did, apologize to Julian, and make sure it never happens again. But you also need to stop using your father as an excuse for never feeling anything, never letting yourself be angry or hurt or vulnerable. That's what's been destroying you, Sebastian, not the potential for violence, the refusal to be human. I don't know how to be human and safe at the same time. Then learn. Vivian's voice was softer now. Learn that you can feel things without destroying people, that you can be angry without being cruel, that you can love someone without suffocating them or ignoring them. And if I can't learn, if I'm too damaged, then you are. Vivian shrugged. And I'll leave. And you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you had a chance and you wasted it. But at least you'll have tried. At least you'll have been honest about what you can and can't do. Sebastian's throat tightened. What did Julian want to talk to you about? He asked me to make a decision. Vivian's voice was careful. He said he's leaving in 3 days, going back to the continent. And he wants to know before he goes whether I'm coming with him or staying with you. 3 days. Sebastian's voice was hollow. Yes. And what did you tell him? I told him I don't know yet. Vivian moved toward the door. I told him I need to figure out what I actually want instead of what everyone else wants for me, and he said that was fair, that he'd wait for my answer, but that he won't wait forever. No one waits forever. Sebastian's voice was quiet. Except me. I'd wait forever for you. Don't say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because it's not romantic, Sebastian. It's desperate. Vivian turned back to face him. I don't want a husband who waits forever out of guilt and obligation. I want a husband who can't imagine his life without me, who chooses me every day because I'm worth choosing, not because he feels he owes me. I do choose you. Do you? Or do you just choose not losing to Julian? Vivian's eyes were hard. Because there's a difference, and until you figure out which one it is, we're never going to fix this. She left him standing there with that question burning in his chest. Did he love Vivian? Or did he just love winning? The answer should have been simple. But after 8 years of lying to himself, Sebastian wasn't sure he knew the difference anymore. He found Julian in the library holding a cloth to his split lip. I'm sorry, Sebastian said without preamble, for hitting you, for losing control, for proving you right about everything. Julian lowered the cloth. I was goading you on purpose. I know. I wanted you to fail. wanted Viv to see that you can't actually change. I know that too. Sebastian sat across from him. You're in love with her. You want her to choose you. And the easiest way to make that happen is to prove I'm still the same man who ignored her for 8 years. Yes. Julian's voice was flat. Were you lying about her letters, about the suicide attempt? No. Julian met his eyes. All of that was true. I wouldn't lie about something like that. Sebastian nodded slowly. Thank you for telling me, for making me see what I was doing to her. Don't thank me. I didn't tell you for your benefit. Julian's voice was hard. I told you because Viv deserves someone who knows the full extent of what she's survived. Whether that someone is you or me remains to be seen. You really love her, more than anything. Then why did you leave 8 years ago? Sebastian leaned forward. Why did you listen to me when I told you to go? If you loved her that much, why did you give up? Julian was silent for a long moment. Because I thought you'd take care of her. Because I thought duty and family honor mattered more than personal happiness. Because I was young and stupid, and I believed your lies about what was noble. And now I know better. Julian's voice was steady. Now I know that love isn't noble sacrifice. It's showing up. It's fighting. It's choosing someone every day, even when it's hard. And I'm ready to do that. The question is, are you? I'm trying to be. Trying isn't enough for Viv. Not anymore. Julian stood. She needs certainty. She needs to know that whoever she chooses will actually be there. Not trying, not performing, actually there. And you can give her that? Yes. Julian's voice was certain. I can. Can you? Sebastian had no answer. Julian left him in the library with that question echoing. 2 days passed. 2 days of Sebastian continuing to show up, continuing to be present, continuing to prove he could be consistent. But something had shifted. Vivian watched him now with different eyes, searching eyes, like she was trying to see beneath the performance to the truth underneath. On the evening of the second day, she found him in his study. Can we talk? Her voice was quiet. Of course. Sebastian stood. Do you want to sit? No. She stayed near the door. I need to say something, and I need to say it while I still have the courage. Sebastian's heart stopped. All right. I've been thinking about what you asked, whether I love you or whether I just love the idea of fixing what's broken. Vivian's voice was steady. And I realized I don't know. I've spent 8 years convincing myself I could love you if you just let me. But now that you're trying, now that you're here and present and doing everything right, I still don't know if what I feel is love or just hope or just desperation to make this marriage mean something. Vivian, let me finish. She held up a hand. Julian offered me certainty. He offered me a life where I know I'm loved, where I don't have to guess or hope or wait. And that's tempting. God, it's so tempting. Sebastian's chest tightened. But I keep thinking about the laudanum. Vivian's voice broke. About how close I came to dying, and I realize I didn't want to die. I wanted the pain to stop. I wanted to stop feeling invisible. I wanted to matter. You matter. Sebastian's voice was rough. You've always mattered. To you, maybe, in your private locked-away way. Vivian's eyes were wet, but not to anyone who could see it, not in any way that made a difference. I know. And now you're trying. You're showing up. You're being present. But Sebastian, is it real Or is it fear? Is it love? Or is it competition with Julian? Because I need to know. I need to know if you're capable of loving me the way I need to be loved, or if this is just another performance. Sebastian crossed to her slowly. Can I show you something? What? He moved to his desk, pulled open the drawer where his journal used to be. It was empty except for ashes. I burned it, he said quietly. 3 years of observations, 3 years of documenting your life from a distance. I burned all of it because it was cowardice. It was me pretending that watching you was the same as knowing you, that writing about you was the same as talking to you. Vivian stared at the ashes. Why? Because I don't want to observe you anymore. Sebastian's voice was raw. I want to know you, actually know you, your thoughts and your fears and your dreams. I want to hear you laugh and know I'm the reason. I want to argue with you and know you trust me enough to be honest. I want everything I've been too afraid to want for 8 years. That sounds like love. It is love. Sebastian turned to face her. It's messy and desperate and 8 years too late. But it's real. It's not performance or competition or fear of losing. It's just love. For you. For the woman you are not the woman I've been imagining you to be. Vivian's breath caught. How do I know you mean it? You don't. Sebastian's voice was steady. You can't know. Not for certain. Not after everything I've put you through. All you can do is decide whether you're willing to risk believing me, whether you're willing to give me the chance to prove it every day for the rest of our lives. And if I'm not willing, if I choose Julian, then I'll let you go. The words cost him everything. I'll sign whatever papers need signing. I'll endure whatever scandal comes. I'll do whatever it takes to set you free, because that's what love is. Wanting your happiness more than my own comfort. Vivian was crying now. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. Sebastian moved closer. You know exactly what you want. You're just afraid to say it out loud because saying it means committing, means risking being hurt again, means trusting me when I've given you every reason not to. I can't. You can. His voice was gentle. You're the strongest person I know, Vivian. You survived 8 years of neglect. You survived a suicide attempt. You survived me. You can survive making a choice. What if I choose wrong? Then you choose again. Sebastian echoed Margaret's words. And again, and again, until you find the life you're meant to live. But you have to choose. You have to stop waiting for someone to make the decision easy. Vivian stared at him, tears streaming down her face. Then she kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't romantic. It was desperate and messy and full of 8 years of pent-up longing and rage and hope. Sebastian froze for half a second. Then he kissed her back, his hands coming up to cup her face, his own tears mixing with hers. When they finally broke apart, Vivian was shaking. I choose you, she whispered. God help me, I choose you. Not because you're perfect, or because you've earned it, or because I trust you completely, but because I can't imagine spending the rest of my life wondering what we could have been if I'd been brave enough to try. Sebastian's forehead pressed against hers. I won't waste this chance. I swear to you, Vivian, I won't waste it. You better not. Her voice was fierce. Because this is it. This is your one chance. If you revert to the old Sebastian, if you go back to distance and neglect and treating me like furniture, I'm gone. Do you understand? Yes. I mean it, Sebastian. I won't survive this twice. I can't. I know. Sebastian pulled back to look at her. I know what this is costing you. what you're risking by choosing me, and I will spend every day proving I'm worth that risk. You better. Vivian wiped her face. Because Julian's going to hate us both. Let him hate me, as long as you don't. I do hate you. Vivian's voice was soft. I hate you for wasting 8 years. I hate you for making me doubt myself. I hate you for all of it. But I also love you, and I'm choosing to see if love can be stronger than hate. Sebastian kissed her again, softer this time. It will be. I promise you it will be. The next morning, Vivian and Sebastian went to Julian together. He was in the library packing his things. He looked up when they entered and his face fell. I see, he said quietly. You've made your choice. Julian? Vivian started. Don't. He held up a hand. Don't apologize. Don't explain. I can see it on your face. You chose him. Yes. Julian nodded slowly, set down the book he was holding. Are you sure? Because it's not too late, Viv. You can still... I'm sure. Vivian's voice was steady. I'm choosing to try with Sebastian, to see if we can build something real from the ruins of what we had. He'll hurt you again. Julian's voice was flat. You know that, right? He'll revert to type. He'll close off. He'll make you regret this. Maybe. Vivian glanced at Sebastian. But maybe not. And I need to find out. Julian looked at his brother. If you fail her again, I will kill you. Not figuratively, not as a threat. I will actually end you. Understood. Sebastian's voice was calm. If I fail her, I'll deserve it. You'll deserve worse than death. Julian moved toward the door. But I hope you prove me wrong. I hope you actually become the husband she deserves. Because she deserves everything, and I'd rather watch her be happy with you than miserable with me. He stopped next to Vivian. Be happy, Viv. That's all I've ever wanted for you, just be happy. I'll try. Her voice broke. That's all any of us can do. Julian kissed her forehead. Goodbye. He left. Vivian and Sebastian stood in the library listening to his footsteps fade down the corridor. He loves you very much, Sebastian said quietly. I know. Vivian wiped her eyes. And I love him too. Just not the way he needs. Not the way I love you. Sebastian pulled her close. I won't waste this. I swear to you I won't. You keep saying that. Vivian's voice was muffled against his chest. But swearing isn't enough. You have to actually do it. Every day. For the rest of our lives. Then that's what I'll do. Sebastian's voice was steady. Every day, for the rest of our lives, I'll choose you. I'll see you. I'll love you the way you should have been loved from the beginning. And for the first time in 8 years, Vivian believed him. 3 months later, they renewed their vows in the small chapel at Thornfield. No guests, no fanfare, just the two of them, and a priest speaking promises they actually meant this time. Sebastian vowed to cherish and honor. Vivian vowed to trust and forgive. And they both vowed to build something new from the ashes of what they'd destroyed. It wasn't perfect. Some days were hard. Some days Vivian's trust wavered and Sebastian's fear resurfaced, and they had to fight through the old patterns threatening to reassert themselves. But they fought, together, with honesty and vulnerability and the kind of love that grows from choosing each other every single day. 6 months after that, Vivian told Sebastian she was pregnant. He cried. She cried. They held each other and marveled at the miracle of new life, growing from ground that had been barren for so long. Their daughter was born the following spring. They named her Hope, because that's what she represented. Hope that love could survive devastation, hope that people could change, hope that even the most broken things could be made beautiful again if you were willing to do the work. Julian never returned to Thornfield. He sent a gift when Hope was born, a silver locket with an inscription: "For the daughter of the woman who taught me that loving someone means wanting their happiness more than your own." Vivian wore it always, a reminder of the road not taken, of the man who loved her enough to let her go, of the choice that had saved her life. But she never regretted choosing Sebastian, never wondered what might have been with Julian, because what she had with Sebastian was real hard-won and honest and built on the foundation of two people who'd learned that love without presence is just pretty words and presence without action is just performance. They learned to be present, to act, to love with their whole hearts instead of careful portions. And they learned that some distances, no matter how wide, can be crossed, some silences, no matter how deep, can be broken, and some marriages, no matter how damaged, can be remade into something worth keeping. 8 years of sleeping in separate rooms had nearly destroyed them. But one night, one moment of hearing her name through her tears had begun their salvation. And every day after was another step toward the marriage they should have had from the beginning, the marriage they'd finally fought hard enough to deserve.